Hari Om. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Sadashiva Samharambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru-Paramparam. Shubhodaya. A warm welcome to everyone to the yet another session by Indica Moksha for the Global Festival of Oneness. This is a month-long festival on Adi Shankaracharya Bhagavadpada, covering various aspects and topics of Advaita Vedanta. This is your host, Soumya. And today's topic is Space and Time in Shankara Vedanta by Swami Chidananda ji. We are blessed by your presence and my humble pranams to you, Swamiji. Swamiji, the talk will be for 15 minutes and the last 10 minutes we will hold it for question and answers. So a brief introduction on Swamiji. Swamiji has been a Vedanta teacher and speaker on human values for more than 3 decades. After he served for 5 years as a resident Vedanta teacher in California in mid-90s, his work has been mostly in India and USA. Since 2006, he heads FOWAI Forum, a non-profit organization that disseminates philosophical and spiritual knowledge with special coverage of Indian ethos. Numerous talks by him are on YouTube at the FOWAI channel. He has also authored 7 books. He is specially known for his presentation on Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads. He hails from Udupi district in Karnataka and has been living in Solan, Himachal Pradesh since 2013. He has begun with a career in electronics engineering with a BE from Mysore University and an MTech from IIT Madras. And then he served Chinmaya Mission Organization of Swami Chinmayanandaji for 18 years and the foundation of Jiddu Krishnamurti for 10 years. Over to you, Swamiji.
Thank you, Soumya. I am delighted to join this series of lectures. May I begin with prayers to the Gurus. Yairime Guru Purvam Padavakya Pramanataha Vyakhyata Sarva Vedanta Nityam Pranatosmyaham. Om Shri Shankara Bhagavadpadebhyo Namaha. Om Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. Friends, we are going to apply our minds to space and time in Shankara Vedanta or Advaita Vedanta. In Dakshinamurti Stotra, Sri Shankaracharya has an interesting line in one of the shlokas. Maya kalpita desha kala kalana vaichitra chitri kritam tasmai Shri Guru-Murtaye Namaidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye and all that. So desha and kala are referred to in that line as Maya kalpita. And the Lord Dakshinamurti, who is that Shuddha Brahma, pure Satchit, pure existence consciousness, wields that Maya. He is the Mayavi, and space and time, Desha and Kala, are components of that Maya. While Dakshinamurti Stotra is a Prakarana Grantha, you may wonder, is there any reference to space and time in the Upanishads themselves, which are the Mula Srota, which are the source for all this Vedanta? Upanishads themselves are called the Vedanta primarily, then a number of other texts are also brought in. I would answer it saying, yes, at a number of places, space and time are mentioned. Let's take space. In the Taittiriya Upanishad, Brahmananda Valli, we begin with the wondrous statement that Brahma is of the nature of Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. Having said Brahma vidapnoti param, and then having pointed to Brahma as Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, the Taittiriya Upanishad says, from that Brahma, which is also the Atma in everyone, Tasmad va etasmad Atmanaha Akasha Sambhutaha. Akasha is space. Akashad Vayu, Vayor, Agni, Agnirapa, Adya, Prathivi, and it goes on. A certain theory of creation. As we study higher Vedanta, we become all the more clear that this business of creation is an adhyaropa, a deliberate superimposition to be subsequently negated. Adhyaropa pavadabhyam nishprapancham prapanchate is the wonderful line in Shankara Bhashya on the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So it is from Brahma that space is born. And it is not really born. That's what I meant by higher Vedanta. When we study very carefully Mandukya Upanishad, Karikas, etc., we realize that all this is said with reference to avidya bhumi, that is, frame of reference of ignorance. That's a very involved topic. We will not go to the details of that avidya bhumi or the frame of reference of spiritual ignorance. But it should suffice to say at this moment that space and time are at best appearances on Brahma. Brahma alone is. Even avidya is not. For Brahma alone is bhava rupa. If anything else is given the status of bhava rupa, bhava means something is, then where is Advaita? Advaita hanihi bhavet. Advaita means there was, is, and will be only one truth. Ekam eva advitiyam. Sadeva somya idam agra asit is the Chandogya mantra. So we have mention of space. Then quickly let me make a reference to a mention of time. In Kathopanishad, Nachiketa in his question itself, later in Yama's answers also there are hints in that direction. But Nachiketa has a wonderful question. When he restates his question or the third boon, in the rewording, he brings high philosophy. Anyatra dharmad, anyatra adharmad, anyatra asmad, krita kritat, anyatra bhutacha bhavyacha. O Lord Yama, is there something, is there certain truth which you are able to behold? I would also like to see that truth. Is there such truth which is untouched by bhuta and bhavishyat? Bhuta is past, bhavishyat is future, and by lakshana, by implication, the middle one, present, is included. That is reference to time, and Nachiketa says, is there something which is untouched by time? Untouched by time, untouched by space, untouched by causation, untouched by dharma and adharma, untouched by anything and everything that belongs to the apparent creation. Brahma has no birth or death, Brahma has no disease or old age, and so on. In fact, they humorously say, if there is any untouchable, really, that is Brahman. All others are touchable. Brahma is untouched and untouchable. In Mandukya Karikas, there is a whole discussion on Asparsha Yoga. Sparsha means what can be touched. Asparsha yoga. When we realize Brahma, we realize that no one can touch us. We don't touch anything. That means there is no duality for A to touch B or B to touch A. All right. In addition to these couple of mantras I have cited, there is also reference to Brahma being not bound by space or time in the quick and easy elaboration that Adi Shankaracharya gives to the expression Anantam. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma is the great pointer, Lakshana Vakya. And Adi Shankara and many other places in the Advaita Shankara Vedanta, we have the meaning of Ananta. Ananta means no anta, no boundary, no limit, nothing that separates this from the other. Boundary is that only, right? Where my house ends and my neighbor's house begins, suppose there is a fence, that fence is boundary for my house, and from the other side, it's the boundary for my neighbor. So, boundary is limit, boundary also is what creates this and not this. So, a cow is different from an elephant. So, there is a Bheda. Where there is Bheda, there is no Anantatva. So, in the Bhashyas at places we find, what is Ananta? Deshataha aparichinnam, not limited in terms of space. Kalataha aparichinnam, parichinna or paricheda means a certain boundary. Deshataha, kalataha, vastuto va aparichinnam brahma anantam iti uchyate, he said. In this way, Shankara Vedanta talks about space and time as components of this phenomenal universe, agreed, but this phenomenal universe is an appearance on the Adhisthana substrate of Brahma. Now, if we take a quick look at where physics has arrived over the centuries, was it not in the last century, 20th century, that scientists like Albert Einstein shook the foundations of the basic idea of the universe? For long they had imagined, all humanity had imagined, that space is unquestionably, absolutely real. So is time. But in his propositions, which most of us know, but most of us don't have a total handle on it, we don't completely have a grip over it because we are not in that field after all. So, what do we mean by scientists shook the foundations of their own previous understanding of the universe? Space is relative. Space is curved, they say. You cannot imagine curved space because things are curved in space. What do we mean by space itself is curved? A piece of paper is curved in space in XYZ. I straighten it up, again I curve it, and I curve it in various ways. But then you ask me, can you bend and create a curve in space itself? That is difficult to imagine. But read some basics of theory of relativity as regards space and time, you will understand what is meant by curved space. Curved space is the basis of even a better understanding of gravity. Gravity is better understood in that visualization. If space were to be curved, like if this paper is curved and I put a little ball at this edge, the ball will go down sliding. It will come to the lowest point. Likewise, gravity is explained as various planets or stars or all those things occupying particular points, as though it's a matter of sliding down a curve of space. So space is curved. Look at that. Scientists are coming closer to Adi Shankara. Likewise, you have time is relative. If someone were to travel, to put it in more dramatic manner, at speeds that are closer to light, even half as much is good enough, then time slows down. Normally, we talk about anything slowing down, imagining time to be unquestionably true. On the axis of time, something might run fast or something might run slowly. But today's physics says space could slow down or space could speed up. Very hard for us to comprehend. Does it mean Vedanta is easy to comprehend? Both are very difficult to comprehend. Vedanta is deceptively simple to lots of Vedanta students. That's why they continue to attend the classes. Because again and again they think, today we understood. And that lasts for just a little while. But through sustained study, learning from competent teachers, and equipping ourselves with the Shamadama, Viveka, Vairagya, and so on, what was once thought of as extremely hard becomes easy. That's a different matter. Now, to say a few more words on physics, it was around, I think, last century, early last century only, that scientists realized that in any experiment, what you observe is incomplete if you don't take into account the status or the parameters connected with the observer. The simplest example is I am sitting inside a train and I see another train next to me, a second train, stationary. It is not moving. Then suddenly I realize that my train is moving at a high speed. And if that train looks stationary, it may not be really stationary. It is not. If the second train is moving in the same direction at the same speed as my train, it appears to be stationary. So I observe that train to be stationary because my train and that train are moving at the same speed, in the same direction. So if you don't take into account what my train is doing, my mere perception, simply noting down, oh, there is another train and that's not moving, is not right. We must ask ourselves, wait a minute, is our train moving or is it stationary? So through this example and advanced examples, scientists understood that at least in advanced experiments probably of behavior of subatomic particles and such things, an experiment is incomplete if one is not taking into account these parameters, coordinates of the observer. There you come very close to Vedanta. The Vedanta, Shankara Vedanta especially, says, find out who you are. Unless you know who you are, 100 conclusions that you draw about the created universe are likely to be flawed. At best, they are relative truths. They are not absolute truths. Thus, the issue becomes very serious. Enlightened masters like Ramana Maharshi have made it very clear that space and time are a secondary reality. The primary reality is I. In his great work, Saddarshanam, basically having 40 verses, and then with two Prarthana Shloka and another two Shlokas winding up, there is a Sanskrit version, Saddarshanam. The original is said to be in Tamil, Ulladu Napathu, but Saddarshanam. In that, there is a certain verse which is about time. Maharshi Ramana, he did not do PhD in theoretical physics, but he says, Bhutam bhavishyatcha bhavat swakale tadvartamanasya vihaya tattvam hasyana kim syat gata bhavi charcha vinaika sankhyaam gananeva loke. Bhutam, the past, and Bhavishyat, the future, are Bhavat, they are present only. Swakale, at their own time. Now, 2 days back, Karnataka went for elections. You and I, today, on 12th of May, may say, you know what? Oh, where I went to cast my vote in Bangalore, there was very good attendance. There was very good attendance. I went to cast my vote, which is a citizen's right, citizen's responsibility, a citizen's privilege, and I exercised. Though my friends were saying, let's go out on vacation and so on, as I know, I will discharge my duty. Anyway, that is unnecessary details. I said, I went past tense. But wait a minute. At the time of going and casting the vote for Congress or BJP or JDS or whoever, another unnecessary detail, excuse me. At that time, did I use past tense? All right. No. Instead of saying I am casting the vote, do I say I cast my vote 2 days back? At the time of that so-called moment of the past, now I am referring to it as the past, 2 days back. At that time, Swakale, says Ramana Maharshi. Swakale bhavat eva. Bhavat incidentally is a synonym for Vartamana. Bhutam bhavishyatcha bhavat eva. They are Vartamana eva. Swakale. And alas, the deluded human beings that you and I are, vihaya tattvam, we just put aside, we ignore the truth of the present moment. Our mind hijacks us. Our mind drags us away to what it creates. Some idea of a future, some idea of the past. Pujya Swami Chinmayananji used to emphatically say, human beings are either regretting their past or afraid, anxious about their future. Regrets of the past, anxieties of the future used to be a phrase which often came in his speeches. He was making an appeal to calm the mind and be in the present and handle the future and the past. But don't let go of a certain awareness of the present. Be in the present. Leave alone high philosophy. Even to, handle various duties and responsibilities, we must learn the art of being in the present. Even philosophers like me, speakers like the Swamiji, sometimes get a bit tense about so many things are to be done. Last night I went through that. There are so many things and I have to travel the next day. Then I took a deep breath and said, whether you worry or do not worry, things that need to be done have to be done. Things that cannot be done will not be done. And long back in my high school days, I had heard one tip for time management. One thing at a time, and that done well. So I took a piece of work and said to myself, there is no other work for me in this world. This is the only work I have. You say to yourself, this is the only piece of work which may take some 25 minutes. There is nothing else exists. That's how you bring yourself to the present and work on something as though there is nothing else on your plate. And of course, now coming back to Vedanta, higher philosophy, if we anchor ourselves in pure existence, then not that we become irresponsible, we get a proper perspective. We handle the future, we handle the past. We do need the past. You know, if some guest is coming and I remember, oh, last time he came, oh my God, he cannot take even one grain of sugar. So I should offer him coffee without sugar. So memory is very necessary. Living in the present doesn't mean losing memory. That would be a big accident to the brain damage. So how beautifully Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi says, by the way, Maharshi Ramana had not studied Shankara Bhashya, had not studied before his enlightenment, Atma Bodha or Viveka Chudamani, but in his realization, in a fascinating matter, how he came upon that great Divya Drishti, whatever he said for some 5 decades or more. I'm fond of saying from the age of 1-7 till the age of 7-1. He dropped his body at the age of 71 and he started it all. His enlightenment, as they say, was at the age of 17. For 54 years, whatever he shared with his visitors was in perfect agreement with Shankara Bhashyas. So far, I have not seen a single place where the words of Sri Ramana Maharshi were at variance with the words in Shankara's commentaries. So, Bhutam Bhavishyatcha Bhavatsvakale Tadvartamanasya Vihaya Tattvam Hasyana Kim Syat Gata Bhavi Charcha. Gata is past, Bhavi is future. To talk about, to do charcha about past and future, without taking into account or without being fully aware of the present, without primarily being anchored in the present, isn't it hasya? Isn't it laughable? Like somebody was counting, he was asked to count something. He began with 7, 7, 8, 9, 10. You must start with 1. 1, 2, 3, that's how you go. So Maharshi says, Vina eka sankyam ganana yatha loke hasya bhavati tata eva vartamanam tyaktva yadi kaschit gatasya charcham kuryat bhavishyatah charcham kuryat tadapi hasyameva bhavet. Laughable. And in another shloka in the same Saddarshanam, Maharshi touches upon both time and space. The verse I quoted, as you know, as you noticed, it was about time only. Bhuta Bhavishyat Bhavat. The other verse is Kvabhati Dikkala Katha Vinasman Dikkala Leela Vayam Vapuschet Na Kwapi Bhamo Na Kadapi Bhamo Vayam Tu Sarvatra Sadacha Bhamaha. He asks a question. Higher you go in philosophy, more you question rather than state. Who am I? Is a great question. You question. The great mystic J. Krishnamurti also highlighted and emphasized the importance of asking questions. It was interesting. He would ask a question to his audience, Jiddu Krishnamurti. And people by nature are so impatient. Especially there are some, members of audience typically who have been attending for a long time. They know answers to everything, but they don't know anything. But the words are there in their mind. Abuzz, the words are always up and dancing. They are into words. They are caught in words. So he would ask a question and they would start answering. And Krishnamurti would say, sir, hold on, sir. Please do not answer. Can you please stay with the question? That appeal, stay with the question, don't be in a haste to answer, is a very profound statement. Because when you stay with the question and you understand the gravity of the question, you understand the subtleties involved in the question. If the question is very clearly understood, perhaps there is no need for any answer. And what is more, these higher questions like who am I are not to be answered. For any answer that is given is false. Therefore, someone humorously said, who am I is a question paper where those who answer fail and those who don't answer at all fly in, what do you call that? Pass in flying colors. Because I am the body, wrong. I am the mind, wrong. I am a scholar, wrong. I am illiterate, wrong. I am of low caste. I am of high caste. I am a woman. I am a man. I am old. I am young. 1,000 answers are all false. Strike them off. Who am I? When you do not settle with any answer, not out of dullness of mind, but out of the intelligence of noticing that these answers are not appropriate, they are at best relatively true. Somebody says, I am a husband. Yeah, with reference to your wife, you are a husband. Don't tell every woman in the town, I am your husband. They will slap you. You are husband with respect to your wife. So relative truths at the most, right? And some of these relative truths, I must say, not just for humor, but for serious consideration, some relative truth, hijacks us. Some relative truth holds us in its kapimushti, they call it, in a monkey's grip, that we are unable to come out of it. So suppose I lost a lakh of rupees in some transaction and I remain stuck in that. Who am I? I sit following Ramana Maharshi's teachings. Who am I? My mind says, I am the one who lost 1 lakh of rupees last week. Shiva, Shiva. You are 1 million things, and why is this definition? I am the one who lost 1 lakh rupees hijacking you as though there is no other description. Once I asked somebody who attended my classes on Ramana Maharshi's teachings for almost 5 years. I said, Subramaniam, when you ask yourself, who am I, what answer do you get? He says, please don't ask me that. He was very shy. Then I asked him, don't feel shy, tell me, I have taught you who am I for 5 years. What do you get? He said, Swamiji, even if I get up at 2 a.m. and ask myself, who am I? Sorry, I don't get the answer, I am Brahman, I am Sachidananda. I said, therefore I'm asking, what answer do you get? He said, the only answer I get is, I am Valambal's husband. His wife's name is Balambal. Balambal. So apart from humor, please see the serious implication. Every one of us tends to be stuck with an idea of I am this, which is in the light of some memories, right? Some attachment or some dvesha. Ragadveshas fix us. Ragadveshas are like a nail with which you catch a bird and nail that bird onto a wall. The bird will be stuck there at the wall or on the trunk of a tree. Poor bird, which was flying freely all this time, is nailed to the trunk of a tree. Like that, when we have ragadvesha, wife, husband, children, property, name, fame, title, etc., we are stuck. So, in this other verse, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi says, Dikkala Katha. You see, space is called Akasha, space is also called Desha. This space is also referred to as Dik. Dik means, Uttara, Dakshina, Paschima, Purva, these are Dishaha, directions. And space, after all, is directions. Kala is Kala, Samaya, what else, time. Katha is talking about. Dikkala Katha Kva Bhati. Why would or where would any discussion of space and time come up at all unless we make the fundamental mistake of imagining we are the body? Kvabhati dikkala katha vinasman dikkala lileha vapurvayam chet. Vayam yadi, chet means yadi. Vayam vapuhu chet. Suppose we really were this body, then all this leela, this play of space and time would be really valid. We are not the body. That's a fundamental error. You see, science over thousands of years has recently become very concerned about determining the parameters of the observer. Then the observed will have more accuracy. Otherwise, it's not accurate, it's not correct. It may serve some functional purpose. A whole lot of relative truths have some functional benefit. The rainbow may not be real, but for thousands of years, and today also, and for thousands of years to come, a rainbow would delight the hearts of those who see it, though it may be an illusion. Many illusions, sunrise, sunset, kaleidoscope, many illusions. We shed tears of joy observing some illusion. Our tears of sorrow also are upon observing some illusion. The illusions do their job. God bless them, let us say. But the truth is different. Truth stands apart. Vayam vapuhu chet dik kala leela bhavet. Desha kala charcha bhavet. But actually, the verse says, we are not the body, and therefore, once we are not the body at all, we have no location. Body has a location. Body has a big, now Google Maps show. Sitting at a place through using WhatsApp or some of the applications, we can let somebody in Africa or Australia know where we are located. Instantly, she knows I am here. I can say, for 9 years, I lived in Solan, Himachal Pradesh. And I say in my profile, nowadays I live in Mumbai. Recently, I moved to Mumbai. I lived before in Varanasi, etc. It's all with the body idea. And I was saying, Vedanta, from time immemorial, has taken into account the parameters of I, the observer. If I, the observer, were to be the body, then the story is one kind of story you get. If I were not to be the body, by body, don't take only physical body, the subtle body of mind, intellect, senses, all are included. The personality. body, mind, and BMI. Sri Krishna talks about the personality, the chapter 3. Indriyani mano buddhihi asyadishtanam chate. Indriyani, which are housed in the physical body, manaha, buddhihi, pancha pranaha. There are all these together. They have a location. The body has a very limited location. Mind has a bit expanded. My mind at one moment may be in Bangalore, another moment may be in Houston, Texas, another moment it goes to Tokyo. Somewhere the mind is somewhere. But body can't go like that. But think of pure awareness. Then we have to say, if you are talking of pure awareness, the pure self, which is the central topic in Vedanta, Shankara Vedanta. Shankara Vedanta is to awaken us to our reality. The Upanishads are meant for it, and Shankara does it with a lot of insightful comments, explanations, and dismissals of false notions, and so on. In his introductory words to Brahma Sutra, in what is called Adhyasa Bhashya, this statement is very famous, where he says, there is a certain confusion. We take what we are not to be ourselves. Atasmin tad buddhihi adhyasa. He talks about adhyasa, a superimposition. And then the statement I am referring to is at the end of that adhyasa bhashya. He says, before even he enters a single sutra of those 555 sutras, he says, there is this confusion, there is this error in seeing. Right seeing is samyak darshana, asamyak darshana, erroneous perception is adhyasa. And he says, this is an anartha that causes all problems. And he says, asya prahanaya. To eliminate this erroneous perception is the job of Upanishads. Asya prahanaya sarva Upanishadaha or sarve Vedantaha arabhyante. Something like that. He says, all the Vedantas, Ishakena, Kata, Mundaka, Itre, Taitriya, Prashna, Mandukya, Chandogya, Brahadaranya, Kaushita, Kesha, like that, 108 or 300 or 4 Upanishads. Sarve Vedanta, all of them are meant to eliminate a fundamental erroneous perception about who I am. Observer. Upanishads are not meant primarily to eliminate some misunderstanding we have about a hill or a river, about a distant galaxy or a microorganism in the blood sample. No, they have a place of their own. God bless them. But Upanishads are meant to eliminate a colossal error we have about who we are. And space and time are closely connected. The moment we make a mistake about who we are, space and time become very real. Vapur vayam chet dikkala leela pravartate. This way, Maharshi Ramana says, Nakvapi bhamo, nakadapi bhamo, vayam tu sarvatra sada cha bhamaha. Bhamaha means we shine. As awareness which has no limits, we either have to say we are nowhere space-wise, we are at no time, time-wise. Na kva api is dismissal of space-wise being located, and na kadapi is time-wise being located. And you and I ask, when did you pass from your college Oh, that was 1997 from St. Joseph's College in Bangalore. Something you say. Presidency College in Chennai. Something you say. And time, 1997. Somebody says 2005. So you locate yourself in time, you locate yourself in space. But as pure awareness, not the personality, you don't have a time-wise location, you don't have a space-wise location. But from another angle of view, since awareness, pure consciousness is all pervasive, Maharshi adds, Vayam sarvatra bhamaha. Bhati means to shine. We are everywhere. Show me one place where we are not. Swami Dayananda used to say, you may look at the night sky and see a very distant star about which science says it is so many light years away. As you know, light year is a unit of distance. Year, though it is called year, because it is the distance traveled by light in 1 year. So many light years away is that star. Swami Dayananda, who was so good in making Vedanta very clear to people, he used to say, you say it is far, but you know it is in you. It is in awareness. Because it is in awareness, you know it. So, in a sense, light years away, but on a higher plane of thinking, it's in you. The world is in you. In this way, we realize that space and time are definitely components. They are the warp and woof of this creation. But this creation is questioned in the Vedanta. We talk about time, and time actually not even secondary. It is a tertiary manifestation. Let me quote Swami Chinmayananji once more and conclude my words. Puja Swami Chinmayananji, who was known for wonderful discourses with so much wit and humor and all that, who awakened and introduced lots of people around the world to the beauty of Vedanta, Hindu scriptures, and so on. Even great scholars like Swami Dayananda, initially when they knew nothing, they were introduced to Vedanta. Later on, of course, they studied advanced works and they were able to contribute in their own way, maybe in some subtler dimensions. That's very good. So he used to say, time is the grandchild of Brahma or consciousness. Brahma is true. Then what is the middle? Parent, child, grandchild. Who is the child here? Child is the mind, thoughts. In Brahma, then there appear thoughts. In thoughts, distance between two thoughts is time. And he would humorously add, from Brahma first arises the mind, apparently. First, there is mind. Secondly, there is time. No wonder the unit of time is second, you would say with a little maybe South Indian or Indian accent. The unit of time is second, not first. He would say, just making audiences laugh. And that is where audiences would go home thinking they understood Vedanta that day. They appreciated joke, that's all. Vedanta is not a joke. If you really understand Vedanta, the world becomes a joke. But Vedanta is not a joke. Listening to some story, listening to some joke, or listening to some melodious bhajans, listening to some beautiful stotra, is some sense of, wow, I think everything is clear now. I am Brahman, I don't have any problems. One imagines problems are waiting to pounce on you. Therefore, don't settle for superficial passing appreciation of Vedanta, get a proper hold on Vedanta by proper study. Thus it is space and time touched upon in certain ways. Let me pause here. Thank you. Om Namo Narayana. Om Namah Shivaya.
Thank you, Swamiji, for that profound talk on time and space. We have a couple of questions. The first question I am sure you would have answered. Jivanji is asking the difference of space and consciousness.
What is the difference between space and consciousness?
Yes.
Yeah. The difference is space also appears and disappears. In deep sleep, there is no space also. In Sushupti, there is no Srishti, there is no Deshakala. Whereas in Sushupti also, the principle of awareness is space being extremely subtle. That's a very good question indeed. It looks like, well, that is it. Like somebody once said to me, the way you are describing Brahman as indestructible, etc., etc., I think Brahma is energy only. Then I had to apply my mind. Then somehow I said, unless you use the word energy in some extended or some very deep sense, otherwise, energy in science, as we know, is light or heat or sound or electromagnetic energy. So, there are so many forms of energy. They change their shape and they also rise and fall. They come and go. Whereas Brahma, though otherwise it may sort of compare with energy, is not something that comes and goes. So I would answer this way. Brahma, it doesn't come and go. Space comes and goes. In fact, let me add one sentence. Swami Sachidanandendra Saraswati Upasya, great Vedanti, he used to repeatedly say, space and time of waking are entirely different from space and time of dream. So one bundle of space and time, as the bundle appeared in waking, disappears. Another bundle of space and time in dream. And in the third avastha, so-called third avastha, Sushupti, there is no space and time at all. That was a very thought-provoking statement he made. Yeah, so that way, there's a difference.
Thank you for that. The next comment is Dharmeshji has appreciated the talk, saying that it is a good talk for those Advaita seeker who have scientific background. And the next one is Anjanji says, from your discussions, we can say that time and space are two components of the spirit, which has a deeper meaning in understanding oneself. That's the question.
That's a question?
Thus, time and space are two components of spirit, and which has a deeper meaning in understanding oneself.
I would say time and space are two components of manifestation of spirit. Spirit by itself has no time, no space. But spirit, when it expresses itself, when it manifests itself, like a dancer, a great dancer, he is standing. And you say, can you show some of your features of dance? Then she takes certain postures. Sorry, my knowledge of dance is very poor. But she does some abhinaya. This mudra is this mudra is that. They are how she expresses. Afterwards, again, she is quiet, drinking a cup of tea. You can't distinguish her from somebody who is not a dancer. But when she expresses, right? So I think space and time are better looked at as certain expressions of consciousness which come and go. Consciousness doesn't come and go.
Okay. Thank you for that. The next question is from Maheshji. He is saying, if we are unlimited awareness and sans guna, free of all properties of space and time, then who experiences whom?
Yeah. So in the error domain, the experienced and the experiencer appear. So really, this is also a profound point which has to be understood through careful study and discussion with teachers. The error includes the ego, the self who experiences. Someone who experiences sorrow, someone who experiences joy, someone who is inquiring. Somebody who is inquiring, who am I, is also part of the error. So error is not, unlike, there are a lot of people who don't study Vedanta or they are not Advaita Vedantis. They look at Advaita Vedanta from a distance and they express, a lot of discontent. How can these Advaitis call this beautiful universe an illusion? They imagine that what is observed alone is taken as illusion. We say this pair of what is observed and the one that is observing, this pair is an appearance, is a superimposition. Brahma, which is the substrate, uh, is free of space and time, etc. So the question was, who is experiencing? One side of this error is experiencing. Another side of error is what is experienced.
Yeah, okay. And similar to the above question, he also asked, what is the purpose of pure awareness in itself? The purpose of it.
Purpose. Okay, what's the purpose of pure awareness in itself? This is a question that would require how we define purpose also. Many times a purpose presupposes a certain need. Somebody joins a law college. What's the purpose of your joining law college? He needs to have a career. He needs to run a family later on. He needs to, all physical needs and other needs. So, in the case of awareness, there is no need really. So, on that level, there is no purpose, and we would even question the need for a purpose. There doesn't have to be a purpose.
Okay. Thank you for that. The next question is, Namaste Swamiji, isn't time as we refer, it is in relation to Earth and solar system? What if someone stands away from the solar system? What is time for that individual or entity?
I think time as we measure has a relation to solar system, our Earth's rotation, etc. But if someone were to be so far away somewhere, then that person would not measure time the way we measure. But going by the model Swami Chinmayananji had presented, first there is consciousness, there is then mind, then thoughts come, there is time. So no matter where somebody could be, if thoughts arise, there would be sense of time. But someone may argue here also, for somebody to have thoughts, one must have experienced objects, etc. So it's a vicious circle. The moment we observe or experience objects, other people, somebody smiles at me, I observe. Then after some time he doesn't smile, he frowns at me. Then I have thoughts. What happened? Just a while ago he smiled, now he is not smiling. Just a while ago, that time sense comes. So this imagination that somebody is far away in space and there is no object, no other person, no earth, no stars, there the whole basis collapses, and that person also collapses. Such existence becomes totally hypothetical. We have to talk about the scenario as we perceive. As long as there are subject and object, and changes in the object and in the subject, time has its genesis. The genesis of time requires names and forms and changes in them. Otherwise, the whole thing subsides. Observed and the observer all vanish.
Thank you, Swamiji. I think due to lack of time, we will just take one more question. I think Niranjanji needs some explanation on why is space being curved similar to Adi Shankara's teachings.
Why is it similar to Adi Shankara's teachings? Only to the extent of dismissing certain absoluteness. Moment we say space is curved, the previous idea that space doesn't undergo any change or space is uniform, homogeneous, that idea is disturbed. Space is curved, means it has high and low, at least in a figurative language. What is high, what is low becomes another question. But the parallel between Shankara's Vedanta and Einstein's statement that space is curved is only this. Einstein's statement destabilized the previous idea of space being very uniform and so on. And Shankara's and Vedanta's statement that Desha and Kala are Maya destabilizes the notion that people have of space being so real, so dependable, so unquestionable, and so on. So that destabilizing is the common factor. They are not exactly the same.
Okay, sure. Thank you for those answers. And thank you, Swamiji, for the talk. Wonderful talk.
Namaste, everybody.
So, see you all again in today's evening session at 7 p.m. And the speaker is Swamini Brahma Prajnananda Saraswati Ji. And she will be speaking on Vedanta, a journey from Ishvara Shrishti to, Jiva Shrishti to Ishvara Shrishti to Aparan Shrishti. Thank you. See you all again.